Kids all over the world love Paw Patrol, but we got a bit worried because sometimes it might end up teaching them some pretty bad things. Make sure you watch until the end when we'll ask why there are so few girl pups. If this is your first time visiting the things, then hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Today we're going to tell you about 10 terrible lessons Paw Patrol shouldn't be teaching kids. Bad local leadership. There are many different theories about how all levels of government should work. Whether you want an active state or a so-called night watchman one, there's an idea about how things should run for you. However, they are all largely agreed that in times of crisis, leaders need to step up. This is why we think that any aspiring young politician needs to try not to follow in the footsteps of Adventure Bay's Mayor Goodway. Seriously, we aren't entirely sure how she got to be mayor of the town in Paw Patrol in the first place. She tends to panic at the slightest bit of trouble, which is not good when there's a town which runs into as many problems as Adventure Bay. Secondly, there's her pet chicken, Chicoletta. Now, we have nothing against politicians having pets. Former American President Theodore Roosevelt kept a menagerie of pets, including a badger, when he was in charge of the United States. But Mayor Goodway's closeness to Chicoletta might raise a few eyebrows. For instance, she carries the bird with her pretty much all the time, which has to be a health and safety problem. And Chicoletta is also deputy mayor, which seems like an abuse of executive power. One clue to her electoral success may be that she's the descendant of Adventure Bay's first mayor, Grover Goodway. Incompetence, favoritism, and nepotism aren't exactly a good way to teach kids about responsible leadership. Evil cats? Now, we love cats. They are lovely, cool, smart, and friendly animals. This is why we really hate it when cats end up getting portrayed as being bad guys. Now, while the rivalry between dogs and cats is an age-old animal story trope, we do wish that cats could be seen as being good, or at least not antagonistic. However, as much as we love Paw Patrol, it's another case of what might be termed allophobia, fear of cats, or it promotes it in some way. Okay, if you're a fan of Paw Patrol, you'll know that there is a rivalry between Adventure Bay's Mayor Goodway and Foggy Bottom's Mayor Humdinger. Now, leaving aside the fact that while Mayor Humdinger is somewhat dastardly, yet rather more suited for a mayoralty than Mayor Goodway, there's one thing this show's creators did that we thought wasn't so good, and that is that they made the villainous Foggy Bottom version of the Paw Patrol a group of cats, or to be precise, the Kitten Catastrophe Crew. They are a group of young cats who mirror what the pups of the Paw Patrol do, only they do it in a naughty and villainous kind of way. This is a shame because we think young children really should know that cats are really nice. We're worried that Paw Patrol is teaching them that they aren't. Poor boat skills. Captain Horatio Turbot, better known as Captain Turbot, is one of the main human characters in Paw Patrol. He's the marine biologist and fisherman who is seemingly constantly getting into some kind of scrape of some kind. However, we really hate to say this, but Captain Turbot could, and probably should, sort himself out and stop relying on the Paw Patrol pups to get him out of trouble. We realize that might seem a little bit harsh, but when you take a look at things, then it's pretty much true. Okay, here's one great example. Have you noticed how, whenever he's in his boat, he quite often has a mobile phone in his hand? We shouldn't have to tell you this, but that's a pretty bad idea. Using your cell phone while you're driving is illegal in a lot of places because using it means you aren't paying full attention and you aren't in full control of your car. So we think the same should apply to boats. We also think that Captain Turbot has a definite tendency to fall off his boat. It seems to happen in an awful lot of episodes, rather too many in fact for someone who's supposed to be a ship's captain. And worst of all, it's pretty rare that you see him in some kind of life jacket. And these are all things that are pretty bad to tell kids in one of their favorite shows. Pup Pup Boogie. If you're as much of a Paw Patrol fan as we are, then you'll know that one thing our heroic pups love to do when they have some downtime is to play a bit of Pup Pup Boogie. That's the dancing-based video game that our heroes can't get enough of. Now, we love video games, but we can't help but think that there's a mistaken message being sent out in some form or another here. The thing is, we aren't entirely sure whether young kids, the sort who watch Paw Patrol, should be quite so targeted about video games. Well, one video game in particular. Now, in fairness, we will also admit that there are worse things than Pup Pup Boogie. It looks fun, and it might teach people about coordination and introduce them to the joy of dancing, which are, we hope you'll agree, pretty good things. But it still reinforces the idea that video games are some kind of cultural be-all and end-all, which is a shame. Oh, and the song from Pup Pup Boogie is insanely catchy, which, while not being a terrible lesson as such, doesn't help matters. But anyway, we think that there's a pretty terrible lesson for kids caught up in Pup Pup Boogie. We are really hoping that Paw Patrol does something to get kids reading again. The role of a vet. One of the things that we really love about Paw Patrol is that there is a really big cast of characters. There's someone for pretty much every occasion in Adventure Bay, and we love to see what they get up to when we watch the show. However, there's one character who puzzles us a bit because we are never entirely sure what it is that she does, and that character is Katie, who is supposed to be one of the town's vets. We like Katie because she's clever and she's kind. She also has a cat called Callie, which is pretty cool. However, while she is supposed to be a veterinarian, we aren't entirely sure how she is one. If that doesn't make sense, consider this. It is a pretty rare occurrence, in fact we can't remember it happening on Paw Patrol at all, that we see Katie actually looking after any animals. No, what we do see Katie doing instead, and we see it rather a lot, is washing the animals in Adventure Bay that need treatment. This is really not what a vet does at all, and we're worried Paw Patrol is telling kids exactly that. While it is important to wash and groom your pet, you really shouldn't take them to the vet if that is all that needs to be done with them. So we think that it is a pretty terrible lesson. Where are Ryder's parents? Ryder is one of the most important characters in Paw Patrol. We think that it is fair to say that he is the most important human character at any rate. This is because he is the de facto leader of the Paw Patrol. He is a 10-year-old boy, and he is the person who leads and trains the pups to carry out their heroic rescues. We like Ryder, and we bet you do as well. However, there's one question that we don't know the answer to, and if you think about it, it's a pretty bad lesson to teach young kids. And that question is, where are Ryder's parents? We never see them, we never hear from them, we never even hear about them. In fact, it is like they don't even exist, at least not in the here and now of Adventure Bay. And because of that, it might teach kids that they don't really need their parents, or at least they don't need someone to look after them. Now we know that's a really bad idea. We remember when we were little, we couldn't have coped long without someone to look after us at all. So while we love the character of Ryder, it would be really good if we could hear from, or at least about, his parents from time to time. Marshall should be more careful. While we love all the pups in Paw Patrol, we will admit that we have taken one in particular to our hearts, and that is Marshall, the Dalmatian fire pup. He's brave and he's sweet and he's funny. However, there is one problem that we have with him, and that is, for some reason, he is in charge of the Paw Patrol's medical supplies. That is a thing that we aren't too keen on because, to put it extremely bluntly, Marshall is rather clumsy. And with medical supplies being incredibly precious and important, it might not be the best idea to put a pup who has a tendency to fall over his own feet in charge of them. Or at least we think that he could be given training. This is a terrible lesson because it might just tell kids that they shouldn't worry about being careful with important things, and we know that is not the case. On the other hand, though, we know that there is one positive lesson people can learn from Marshall, and that is the value of loyalty. We know that he's the sort of dog that will always be there for people, so we can see how he got the role that he did. Nevertheless, we still think that Marshall's clumsiness isn't exactly the best lesson that kids could be taught. You don't have to win everything. One thing that often serves as a catalyst in Paw Patrol is some kind of mishap that takes place during one of Adventure Bay's many competitions. There seems to be some kind of contest from pretty much everything you could think of in the town. So far in the series, you can take your pick from the tallest and tastiest cake contest, the cleanest town contest, the great hot air balloon race, the fastest fire pup competition, the Adventure Bay sheep herding competition, a frog jumping competition, and the annual mayor's race. That is a lot of competitions for what has to be a rather small town. Now, leaving aside whether these things are publicly funded or not, which is another question for another day, we are worried that they will give kids the wrong idea. We think that it's possible that youngsters will end up wanting to enter every competition going. That is a problem because it could easily lead to some kind of burnout. For instance, if a kid enters more than one contest, it could lead to them not being able to do as well as they could do if they only entered one of them. So we think that Paw Patrol needs to cut down on the contests and tell kids that it's okay not to try to win everything. Merchandise and fandom. A lot of the terrible lessons that Paw Patrol is teaching kids are things that can be easily turned around, but there is something that is a little bit more insidious, and that is the sheer amount of Paw Patrol-related toys, dolls, games, and general paraphernalia that a fan of the show can own. Even a quick look at the Amazon website shows that there are more than 6,000 things in the toys and games category alone. Now this does bring up a very important point, and that is that there is an implication that the more merchandise you own, the more of a fan you are, and it is very important that kids know that is not true. Sure, it's good to have stuff related to your favorite TV show or movie or book series or whatever, but it doesn't mean that you're a better fan than someone who doesn't have it. They might not be lucky enough to have the sort of money that means they can get everything related to a franchise, or they might not have enough space in their home. So it is kind of a shame that there are so many types of Paw Patrol toys and games. We think that the creators of the show have unleashed a kind of merchandise craze, and we don't want kids from less affluent families to be left out. Where are the girl pups? We love Paw Patrol a lot, but there is one big thing that bothers us, and that is the lack of female role models among the pups. Yes, there's Skye, and in the second season of the show, there's Everest. Then we think that might be a bit of a problem. You see, we think that Skye has had a pretty raw sort of deal. While the other pups have a range of gadgets that they can use, Skye, who wears pink, which seems kind of stereotypical, only has a pair of wings. And while Everest is pretty cool, she doesn't appear as often as we might like her to. So we would really like to see Paw Patrol take a lead and show young girls that they don't have to be constrained and held back, but they can achieve anything they can set their mind to. And with the current gender imbalance on the show, we don't think that that is a thing that it's doing right now, which is a shame because we think it would be awesome if it did. But we wondered whether there were any other terrible lessons that Paw Patrol shouldn't be teaching kids. What have we left out? Don't be shy, let us know and leave a comment. And that's all for our 10 terrible lessons Paw Patrol shouldn't be teaching kids. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.